From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Dennis's Heating and Air Conditioning is Northern California's premier heating and air conditioning contractor. From residential housing, large commercial projects, installation to repair, sheet metal fabrication, and everything in between, we are your go-to heating and air conditioning specialist.
Well, good morning, everyone. A lot of you may have been hearing about some snow making its way into some of the higher elevations. It's something I've been talking about over the last 24, 48 hours as we kind of get closer to that time frame, especially as we go through today. I'm beginning to see, overall, not a ton of snow in some of the higher elevations. You're going to have to go up pretty high in elevation, say 6,000, 7,000 feet, before you start seeing any quote-unquote significant snowfall. We're talking a couple of inches there. You start heading down into places like El Turris, Susanville, Mount Shasta City, Chester, for example. It's not looking like a whole lot. Now, that's a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. I'm going to let you go ahead and judge that. But bottom line is, we're not expecting this to be a major event, and shouldn't really impact your travel either. We'll get into that here in a second. But cooler and unsettled today. So outside of the snow, we're still going to see showers for the lower elevations, with snow in some of those higher elevations I was telling you about, and then cooler for the rest of the week, but not much rain after today. Quite honestly, if any. I mean, we could be looking at some making its way in by the middle of next week, but after today, I'm just not seeing much. Here is a look at your planner, get you out the door this morning. You can see it's going to be a little chilly, but not that bad. We are going to be looking in the valley, off and on chances for showers pretty much throughout the day today. So just make sure you've got that umbrella handy. Siskiyou County, Modoc County, of course, looking at the overcast skies, eventually just looking at some scattered showers there. That's also the case for the eastern mountains. Some heavier rainfall, though, I think, for some of the eastern mountains, and of course, not to mention some of that snow as you go up higher in elevation. Here's a look at your North Coast forecast. I think most of what we see rainfall-wise for the North Coast in general will be through the morning hours. By the afternoon, looking like it's going to dry out for the most part, with temperatures in the mid-50s inland, and also the case pretty much for Trinity County as well. So you can clearly see the swirling area of low pressure right here. Colder air is getting wrapped up. You see these speckled clouds? That's the colder air that's going to be streaming southward. So initially, snow levels fairly high as that cold front passes through. But once this colder air begins to move in, this is when we start to see those snow levels begin to drop. So let's walk you through the timing of all this with Futurecast. And what you're really going to notice is, quite honestly, just a jarbled mess, because we're not seeing anything terribly organized as far as widespread rain and snow for that matter. But when you see the pinks and the blues, the pink, of course, is the mix, a rain-snow mix, and then, of course, the blue is where we're seeing the snow. So, again, we're starting off at fairly high elevations. Now, you'll notice kind of a slim sliver of showers here for parts of the valley, but the main boundary, as you can see, is right here. Not only are we seeing some of those showers, but it's not out of the question for a lightning strike or two as well. Now, I'm going to take you a couple of hours in time here, and we're going to take you about 10 a.m. We're seeing a cluster of some heavier rainfall down to the south and east. So I think this is where we could see a decent amount of rain here in the morning hours down into the eastern mountains, especially off into Plumas County. You see some patches of blue. That indicates that, yeah, again, fairly high snow levels, 7,000, 8,000 feet. We're also seeing a little bit of snow off in some of the higher elevations here. Again, same situation, 6,000, 7,000 feet. So Mount Shasta City, you're not looking at snow at this point, if you're going to see any at all today, quite honestly. All right, so there you can see kind of a little bit of rain there. Now, as we go into the noon hour, we could see a pop-up thunderstorm, and this could also include the valley, by the way. It's not out of the question for the valley to see some shower and thunderstorm activity here. Still seeing kind of this pocket of some heavier rainfall lingering around the Plumas County area. But you can see overall, things are starting to quiet down. Now, this is where the cold and unstable air is right here. You'll notice you're starting to see some clearing as well. So as we go through the afternoon, we could see a few pop-ups here and there, but what you'll notice, we're not seeing a lot of it. So this is when the snow levels will begin to drop. This is when, as we go into the late afternoon, early evening hours, this is when we start to see that potential for snow, possibly for places like El Turris, Chester. Now, as you get up around 4,000, 4,500 feet, I think you can start to see some snowflakes. Now, Mount Shasta City, you're at 3,500 feet, so the chances of snow there are getting even slimmer. Okay, so there you can see this is where the bulk of the activity is by 5 o'clock today. Let's take you to about 8 o'clock tonight. Now we're seeing near Susanville some heavier snow trying to make its way in, but you'll notice just not much activity after that. Now I'm going to take you into about 10 o'clock tonight, midnight tonight. You see how things are drying out, and this is it. This is when we dry things out entirely for your tonight, and not to mention late tonight, and not to mention through the day on Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend. So rainfall estimates, and these are estimates here. The bulk is going to be Del Norte County from what we saw last night and this morning, and then of course down to the south and east here. Everything in between that you can see is just not very significant, just a few hundredths here and there. So the valley just not really going to see much rainfall out of this. Now we're going to change gears and talk about the forecast snow totals. Now, yesterday, the forecast models were a little bit more aggressive in saying about an inch around Alturas and Susanville, maybe even around Mount Shasta. Now they're kind of backing off on that because overall, again, it's mainly going to be above, really, you know, we kind of look at it around 4,000 to 5,000 feet. That's what I've got here. But really, it's just going to depend on where you are. As you start heading into the Sierra, it tends to be a little bit higher in elevation, closer to that 5,000 foot range. As you start heading into the Southern Cascades, Northern Sierra, maybe more like the Southern Cascades, you're talking closer to maybe around 4,000 feet. So again, that's getting borderline around Mount Shasta City. But really, bottom line, this is not going to be a major issue. Now, these are some of the impacts. When we talk about the impacts, that would mean maybe chain requirements or just slick roads. So we're in the limited range here. We're not seeing anything above that. You can kind of see some of the higher elevation, maybe in Lassen Park. Yeah, maybe getting into that minor category. But are we expecting chain requirements? I don't think so. If we do, it would be over some of the higher elevations down towards south into the Sierra. But I think for us, I think we're okay. I had someone asking the question, I'm heading up to Oregon, Southern Oregon. You're going to be fine heading up on I-5. You're not going to run into chain requirements. Just be aware of the fact, especially as you start going into the higher elevations, yes, you may see some snowflakes, but I think we're going to have a hard time seeing that snow accumulating on the roadways. All right. Now we're done with talking about rain and snow. It's dry for the rest of the week, Thursday, Friday. This weekend, I've got you with dry conditions, and not to mention Monday. Now, this is looking at Halloween night. We've got an approaching storm system Halloween night, and then as we go into Wednesday morning, it pushes through. The timing of that is awfully close to Halloween night. So it's not guaranteed that Halloween will be dry, but as it stands right now, looks like that'll be the case. Looks like our trick-or-treaters should be okay for now, but keep a close eye on the forecast because that could quite possibly change. But bottom line, you saw it there. There just isn't much rain, and not to mention snow, after today. There you can see 7 to 8 feet when we look at those wave heights as we take you through this afternoon. And then going into Thursday, they may drop slightly. And looking at your marine forecast for today, those winds from the northwest at 5 to 10 knots, waves from the northwest at 5 feet at 8 seconds, and from the west at 3 feet at 13 seconds. There's your sunrise this morning and your sunset later on this evening. Okay, so your forecast for today. I've just kind of broad brushed it with a chance for showers for pretty much everyone. Temperatures are going to be noticeably cooler today. Remember that cooler air I was telling you about? Well, it will be here today, and we're only expecting low 60s for the valley today, and of course mainly in the 40s and 50s for the higher elevations. So when we look at the 7-day forecast, these temperatures not changing much. They may increase a little bit here by early next week, but after today's chances for showers. So here are the snow levels that I put in here. Mount Shasta in Siskiyou County in general around 4,000 feet. Modoc County 4,500 feet, and down into the Sierra, down towards the eastern mountains closer to Susanville, you're at about 5,000 feet. I've got you dry for Thursday through the weekend and into early next week as well. Let's take a look at your 7-day outlook for the valley. Of course, we don't need to talk about snow levels because the valley won't see any snow, but we've got the rain in there, right? We've got temperatures in the low 60s. Now, we're pretty much going to keep it in the low to mid 60s through the weekend. So it's definitely going to stay cool out there for quite some time, despite the fact that we won't see any rainfall after today. And then it warms up a little bit by Monday, Tuesday, right around 70 degrees. Now, for the coast, we've got, of course, the chance for showers today. Temperatures mid to upper 50s. For Trinity County, got your snow levels around 4,500 feet. And then, of course, we've got dry conditions and temperatures staying down for the inland areas and for Trinity County as well, warming up slightly by Monday and Tuesday of next week.